Alrighty, fellas. So I'm here to show what I'm building here. This is the latest Foundry rendition by my brother and myself. I'm down here in the shop in my flip-flops and pajamas, so you can tell I'm working especially hard today. In reality, I'm just cleaning up the mess that has accumulated over the week. Well, Vaseline to try and help release the molds here. Well, the steel pipe nipple that's going through there. It's a piece of 12-inch black steel pipe. You zoom in real close. It's a couple paper towel tubes that we basically put some duct tape around so that it was wrapped tight to the pipe. Put a bunch of Vaseline over it, and that should at least help it release a little bit from the cement, and also it'll be a little bit of extra room so we can slide the pipe out of there nice and easily. These will be getting replaced by a stainless steel burner. We're basically going to take a normal piece of pipe, if you can imagine, use this hole saw to show, but imagine that if you were to take a mandrel and stick it into the end and flare it out from, that wide to a little wider so that it acts as a normal nozzle, similar to one of those, like this guy. This is a 1-inch by a 2-inch adapter or reducer coupling, and normally you would see, if I can get some light in here, you would normally see that at the end of one of those burner pipes. There's two in this Foundry. There's one here on my side and one down there. The last time we tried to do cast iron, we actually melted these right off of the steel pipe in there. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of stainless steel to try and combat that. Anyhow, so far what we've got is, this is about a 17-inch steel 3/16-inch steel drum. We basically took a piece of 3/16-inch sheet metal and rolled it into a circle, and then I welded for the first time in many years and closed that up. We threw two handles on each side to lift this. There will not be a lot of lifting once there's more cement in here, I'm going to tell you that. So far we've poured the base in it, and there is a layer of the ceramic Kea wool underneath that. And then you can clearly see that we've got a layer going around the outside of this. I want to say that this is either 2-inch or 1.5-inch Kea wool. I'm not sure what it's rated to because it was purchased many years ago. But what we plan to do is fill this void here, which, what do we got? Here we go. This is going to be approximately a 2.5-inch wall or casing of the castable refractory cement. So it's going to be 2.5 inches thick, and then on the inside, once we remove this form and burn it off, however we get it out, I'm basically going to use either a layer of Satanite, or there's a company down in Texas called ITC Coatings, and they make a product called ITC 100 that I might use as a ceramic shell that's good, rated up to 5,000 degrees, to actually protect this when we achieve the cast iron melting temperatures. I don't doubt that we'll be able to achieve them. It's a matter of keeping everything else intact once you're at that temperature. That's proven to be so hard. So I hope I can inspire some people by showing off what I'm doing, and I certainly would love some feedback. The feedback I have received so far is these are steel studs, and I'll include a picture, that are welded all the way to the outside wall of the Foundry, and there are 6 of them in here. And what people have been recommending to me on a couple different forums is that the coefficient of expansion, or how fast and at what temperature the steel expands in these rods that I've welded on, it might be different than the castable cement, or the refractory cement that we pour into the sides. So I need to either chop these off, or I'm going to have to throw caution to the wind and just pour the cement around them and see how it behaves. Ultimately, that could result in cracking, which, though it is not the end of the world, I just spent $300 on the cement for this because I had to get it shipped from a company up in Massachusetts, and for me to travel up there would cost nearly as much, so I'm saying screw it, ship it over here. And that's from Sheffield Pottery. They're up in Sheffield, Massachusetts, which is close to the New York State border and the Connecticut border, so it's in southern Mass. No less. I'm waiting for that order to get processed and shipped. Ideally, they're not out of stock, so we'll see. In here as well, you can see there is what is called a plinth. Others call it a pedestal. It's a colloquial term that is, it still works either way, but you can see that that's about a 2.5-inch sonotube that we use to cast the pedestal / plinth down there. So that's got some steel welding wire. Now, it might not be stainless, I admit, but we basically put that through to make sure that it's attached to the lower base. Others have got holes drilled on the bottom of theirs, and they'll maybe use a fire brick. If this thing ultimately fails and cracks apart, we'll just chip it out and, put a layer of Satanite or that ITC 100 stuff I was talking about earlier in the video. We'll probably layer it over it. You might be wondering what we've got going on here with this pipe or this steel rod and the rope. Ultimately, I'm not sure if this is going to be strong enough to withstand the refractory as it hydraulically bonds and squeezes around this tube. So I am considering making some wood or steel forms that go down this, maybe a little smaller, but just such that it's got some protection in there from the cement pressing up against it. But what this rod does that goes through here, it's keeping it at the height that we want on the sides, since this has got holes drilled in the side that go through where that paper towel tube is and come out in here at a specific height. Those are not on the bottom, and they've probably got about an inch or so, 1.5 inches underneath them down there. And that's so that these, they not only come in at a higher height, but it has an angle that is a little upward so that we can get more heat around our crucible. Don't ask me what the hell happened there, I don't know either. But we're going to put that crucible right down on top of that plinth pedestal, and with those jets cocked up just a little bit, that should get a little bit more heat targeted at the bottom of the crucible, but it will be able to rise up this. Admittedly, I'm really scratching my head at how tall this thing is. It probably doesn't need to be this tall, but we could get a taller crucible or use this for different heating functions, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna get scared by what we've done here already. If worst comes to worst, I'll take a freaking oxy torch and cut 2 inches off the top of this thing. What we got for a cap so far is this crude shape you're looking at here. Ultimately, I think we're going to need to cut out this tic-tac-toe board and put in stainless steel pipes. Thankfully, I do have access to this stuff. So for others watching, don't just willy-nilly weld in, pieces of bar like I did here. That's going to turn out to be a waste, and these need to be cut away. What you essentially want to avoid is rust rust forming on top of these normal iron or steel bars. And what you want to do to counteract that is obviously just use a piece of stainless steel. So it might still expand in the cement a little bit, but you won't have rust forming. And when rust does form on a piece of metal, it is going to always be thicker, and it's always going to grow out faster and make for expansion. And if you've got tight concrete around that, the concrete is going to give way compared to that metal. So that's why we're going to get rid of that. I'm long-winded. Got a lot I really want to share. I've been absorbing so much knowledge over the last few months trying to really think up how the hell we're going to do this. We have a propane forge, a propane tank style forge, but we ultimately melted down all the kaolin when we were shooting for the cast iron temperatures, so got some 3,000 degree refractory. Got to keep researching the ceramic shell. If anyone's got anything that they personally have used for their cast iron melting furnace, I'd love to hear it. I'm also going to have to find what sort of crucible will ultimately be able to put up with the abuse that I'm going to give this. I don't know why I listened to somebody, but I put borax in this and coated the whole thing. But the rest of the shell that was on here, some sort of ceramic or graphite-based shell, is totally burnt off. So, might experiment with this one and try and paint some of the ITC. Maybe they have like something called like ITC 213 that I'll maybe try painting on there. These are my the volume calculations. So, the outer diameter from the wool to the wool is about 14.5 inches, and then the outer diameter, or the inside diameter from the outside to the outside of the Sonotube, that was about 9.5 inches. So I got that here with a height of 15.25 and 15.25 for both. The square foot from the KO wool to the KO wool is 1.46 square feet, minus the cylinder that I do not want to cast, which is 0.63 square feet. I have a refractory, I have a total square footage need of refractory cement at about 0.83. So each 55-pound bag has 0.38 that it yields. That goes into, 0.83, 2.18 times, so need about two and a quarter bags almost. So I have a little bit left over there. It's called this, it's a 65 or 70% aluminum made by KT Refractories down in Houston, Texas. But that's not going to be enough for what we're doing here, so we went ahead and bought the 3 bags like I mentioned earlier in the video. So essentially, it's going to be a 120-pound dry pour, or dry weight. We're going to need 120 pounds of cement. I have no idea what the hell that's going to ultimately be after it's all wet, but I can assure you we will not be casting it down in the basement workshop here. That will certainly take place upstairs, or out in the garage at minimum on a warm day. And I'll show off my Crucible Tongs we built here, because I'm proud of them. That we put a rivet here that was laying around the shop, and we kind of swaged one of these so that they both lay flat in the right orientation. The back bar that lays up against the hot rivet, that got swaged downward. Fun tool to make. If anybody would ever actually pay for one of these, it'd be fun to sell something like that, but can't say it wasn't without a lot of work. Anyhow, a lot of talking. I don't even know if I ever finished talking about the rope that's going on here, but that ties it down, keeps it pressed downward essentially. So there's a lot of tension on this, and it's not going to ever allow it to move upward, but there is so much tension that goes around this side to here, wraps back around to the other handles, and holds it tight. It cannot move side to side either because of the tension on here. So the top of the Sonotube can't wiggle back and forth. And ideally, that'll keep it pretty kosher. Let me know what ideas you guys might have for filling the inside of this void so as to protect it. Considering spray foam, but I don't know how the hell I'd remove it. Anywho, enjoy the day. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.